Welcome back again to 30 Life Lessons that I wish I knew before I turned 30. Today, I wanted to go ahead and focus on 10 more life lessons that I wish I knew before I turned 30. And I hope that even if one of these lessons help you, feel free to take notes and also use it as much as you can. I think that some of these lessons are really, really helpful. Especially, I would say I will also have a few books that go with these lessons, which I have right here. So let's go ahead and start right away. As always, please feel free to subscribe, comment, and leave your insights down below. And please, any like and subscribe does help and goes a long way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the lessons I wanted to focus today are going to be about life, growth, work, and anything along those lines. The first lesson that I wanted to go over is quality matters more than quantity in relationships. Now, that's something that I wish I had known way back in the day, and I kind of went over this a little bit in my past video where I talked about I was friends with different friend groups, especially in college, but I wish if I could go back, I wish that I was more picky with my friends, or I would even go so far as to say that it's important to even test your friends to make sure that they're there for you sometimes, especially, and this can be something that maybe I have seen that girls can go through a lot, where they have friends that they're comparing themselves, like your friends are comparing themselves to you, and you don't even know you're part of this comparison and this competition, and it just creates a very toxic environment. And I think it's important to be around friends that are healed, right? A lot of the times when we start comparing ourselves to others is when we probably are going through a healing journey, and we still probably haven't gone through it. So I think it's important that we are picky, very, very picky. I wish I did that way more in the past, but as long as one of you takes that lesson and applies it, please also let me know if there's any stories that you want to share in the comments. Number 2, boundaries strengthen relationships instead of weaken them. And for that, I actually brought this book that I read. It completely changed my life. It's called Boundaries. So literally, right, what we're talking about. But this book focuses on different areas of your life. It focuses on your family, friends, love, relationships, and so much more. And I think we tend to. This is a book for anyone that wants to buy it. But again, this book is great. So again, if you want to learn more about conflict, how to solve it, sometimes, especially for my people pleasers out there, we tend to believe that if we put boundaries and we say no to someone, we somehow are the mean people and they're going to hate us, and all these lessons and all these, I guess all of these stories we tell ourselves. But actually, in reality, people that are for us will respect our boundaries and they won't try to cross them, right? So that's something that I've had to learn the hard way, but hey, as long as you learn it at some point in life, that's important as well. So again, this is something that I highly recommend. This book, I highly, highly recommend it. So I wanted to bring that and talk about it for a minute. Lesson number 3, you can love people and still choose distance. Yeah, let's take a moment for that, right? When I look back at my life and I look at, especially where I'm at right now, I've had to let go of a lot of friendships. I've had to let go, I've had to distance myself from people that maybe did not align with my values, or, life happened and we just went different directions, and that's completely okay. But that doesn't mean that you stop loving those people. You may still have love for them. However, just your paths don't align the way that you at one point in time they did, and that's completely okay. So I think letting people go with love can be very mind opening. It can be life changing as well. And I think, trusting that you're making the right decision, and especially trusting your own intuition. When your body just tells you, hey, it's time for you to go your separate ways, and that's completely fine. And that goes a lot for love relationships, especially for people you're with and you just sort of don't align anymore. That's completely fine. You have to go for what is important to you and whoever makes you happy. And sometimes people are there for a season, but they're not going to last forever, and that's completely okay. So that's number 3. Number 4, communication beats assumption every time. How many of us, we go through these different whether it's like conversations or we have plans with a friend and we say something, but somehow our friend thought that we meant something else, and we're in our heads so much sometimes that I think it's important to kind of get ourselves out of our heads and into our bodies, and also ask, right? Like if we have plans or if we plan something in our head, like it's important to like go ahead and ask and say something, right? Clarifying questions or anything along those lines. Sometimes we just don't want to rock the boat, or we don't want to say the thing that we're thinking. Like let's say, for example, let's say a group of friends wants to go to this specific restaurant, and one of them says, oh, I really love this place, but then another one saying, well, I'm actually vegetarian or I'm a vegan, I can't have this type of food, and they keep that to themselves and they don't say anything. Then of course the group is not going to know unless you speak up and you say what is important to you. So I think that's a lesson that a lot of people can use, because not everyone can read not everyone, pretty much no one can read our minds and what we're thinking. And I think it's important that we say what we need, right? Number 5, your job is part of your life and not your identity. Now, many of us here love our jobs. We are, sometimes we identify with it too much. But I will say from other cultures, so, I'm Eastern European, I'm from the Balkans. And so whenever I go back and I visit home, I notice that a lot of people there, they don't, right? Like they love their jobs, but they don't identify to the point that without their jobs, they're no one, right? Like that's not how it goes. Whereas I do find here, especially in America, that people do associate their identity through their jobs, to the point that if they lose their jobs or something happens or they're laid off or something like that, they just don't even know what they like anymore, right? And I'm not saying people don't have hobbies here. They definitely do. However, they do associate with their jobs to the point that they lose themselves in those identities, right? And I think it's important that we expand. And if today you find that, well, your identity is mostly surrounded in your family and your job, what other things can you do to make yourself happy? What excites you? What makes you passionate? What makes you wake up in the morning and be really excited? And again, not every day is going to be happy and excited. However, we can try to implement different activities or hobbies to really get ourselves in a better place mentally and physically and psychologically. Number 6, burnout does not mean you are weak. It means something needs to change. Huge, right? This lesson. There's been moments in my life where I was, in a job, and I just sort of found that whether it's the job or the people, or I've learned to do the job really well, and all of a sudden I'm feeling sort of burned out, because now I want to be in a place where I can start learning more, and I want to practice those skills that I learned. So for me, for example, I'd like to experiment, and it's important for me to keep myself kind of excited and also doing different things, whether it's hobbies or whether it's like different jobs, or that keeps me from burnout, right? So I do know that about myself, and I think it's important for everyone to figure out what they like, what drives them, and whenever you start feeling that burnout, right? Whenever it's like you don't even want to go to work anymore, or just like, oh, I have to get this ready, or I have to present for this project, or I have to do this, like whenever you start feeling, right, kind of like demotivated, that's when you should be doing a little bit of work with yourself, whether it's like maybe you step back just a little bit to figure out what's going on right now, whether it's like maybe you need to get a vacation, right? Sometimes we find that we're we have these big projects coming up and we just need to put our all into the job. However, that's not the case, right? It's important that we know when we need a few days off, or we need a vacation, or sometimes you can say, well, I have these projects back to back and I don't even know when I can do that. Find pockets of happiness, whether it's like you go home and for a few days out of the week you're just like, I'm gonna go take a nap, right, for 3 hours, so whatever makes you happy. I think that's definitely something that can help in the long run. Number 7, career paths are rarely linear, and that is completely okay, right? So I think that a lot of the times, well, at least like For me, I will speak for me, right? Like when I was going, high school and college, I would just sort of think, careers would start, you start at this base and then you sort of work your way up. However, with time, we've seen, especially nowadays, that is not the case. People can jump into different jobs or, leave, or maybe they do something that's not linear, or they start, a YouTube channel, or they're starting other types of, like, maybe a side business, right? And that's completely okay. And I think that making peace with that and not expecting your career to sort of grow, in a linear way can be very helpful in the long run, right? So that's something that I definitely wish that I knew back in the day, right? Number 8, financial literacy matters as much as earning more, right? So how many of us here, we found maybe sometimes when we start making more money, we realize, wait, hold on, I was making less and I was saving more, but now somehow I'm making more, and where's my money going, right? I think it's important to kind of take a step back. I'm a huge fan of Dave Ramsey. However, everybody has their own person or their own program that they're looking and they get inspired by. But I think just looking at, now that I'm making more, for example, maybe I'm getting a more expensive apartment, or my grocery bill is going up, and now we know nowadays the inflation is crazy and our money is going everywhere. However, even if we can look at maybe some of the subscriptions that we have, and we say, well, why do I need 5? I just need 1. Why do I have, Apple and Spotify and then this and that? Like, why do I need all of this? Maybe can I just reduce it to 1? I think even making those little changes, it can add up over the year. So I think just, I had to kind of do that more, because as a student, right, I was like, oh, I don't get paid much. And then I was, a graduate student. And then after that, I was like, okay, now it's time. Now I'm like an adult, right? So now I have to do adult things. So again, that's a lesson. And also it's a lesson in progress, right? It's not something that I've definitely learned 100% and now I'm perfect. Like, no, that's not the case at all with me. However, I think just being mindful of where our money is going is, definitely, yeah, it's going to change your life. I know for me, definitely fashion is something that I realized, a lot of my money goes there. So yeah, just kind of taking an inventory of where your money is going can be life changing. So I wanted to go over a few more lessons. I think we have 2 more to go. Number 9, your health is your foundation. Protect it early. Now, how many of us here are are suffering with autoimmune issues or other issues, right? As soon as I turned 25, my body was like, yeah, we got some autoimmune issues to deal with. We've got some symptoms. It's time for you to slow the heck down and start, taking care of your issues. And it's been a journey, right? And that's something that I will definitely go over in the next few videos. I want to create a whole different folder with, tips and tricks and what I've done and what I've learned through this long journey. It's been a long journey with the thyroid issues. I've had a lot of that, to the point that some of my symptoms align a lot with PCOS symptoms, where it's been very difficult. And I mean, I haven't been officially diagnosed with PCOS, but definitely hypothyroidism, and figured out, of course, that was Hashimoto's for me with my antibodies and so on. So yeah, I think, as soon as I found that out, I started digging. I started learning. What do I need to do? Do I need to change my diet? What things can I do to help myself in the long run, right? And so I realized there's a lot of great books. I actually have a whole set of books for that alone, which I can't wait to talk about in the future, and connect and have a community here so we can all help each other. But health is the foundation, right? Without health, we wouldn't have, I always think about this. I'm like, well, without health, I won't be able to go to work. Then I won't be able to help, the students and everything that I do. And it's important for me to take a step back and say, okay, well, even if I need to rest more today or the weekend, I'm going to spend it to do a lot of self-care and I think sleep. I talked about sleep last time, but that's so important for autoimmune issues. So yeah, we will talk more about this in the future, but that's number 9. Number 10, consistency beats motivation every single time. Yes, so let's just think about that for a minute, right? So for example, I wanted to create this YouTube channel and I wanted to show up here and I couldn't wait, right? And so I started buying all the things. I needed the light and I needed my microphone and so on. And then I realized I was like, oh, I'm not ready yet, or I'm gonna wait a little bit more, and then maybe a week here, a week there, and then I said to myself, okay, well, I need to sit down and start producing, like start, taking these videos, uploading them, and keep it moving, because no one's gonna come for me, right? No one's gonna come and save me. No one's gonna be here to just say, hey, you should be doing this today, right? Or you should be consistently showing up. How do I do it? Just little by little, right? So at first I started experimenting. I started experimenting with the videos. I started experimenting with the light and the microphone, where things should be, how, and again, it's going to continue getting better with time. However, we need to start, the foundation needs to start from somewhere, right? We can't just, we won't wake up one day and just all of a sudden know everything. But I think if we slowly start to experiment and then we determine what is important, right, and what makes sense, then yes, we can go ahead and do the things that we want to do, whether it's a project, you want to write a book, you want to sing, you want to be a public speaker, you want to, I don't know, run a marathon. I have no idea. Like, people do so many different things, and that's amazing, but we have to start somewhere. Sometimes it's just showing up, right? And then the next day we show up and we do one thing, the second day we show up and we do two things, and so on. And some days we just don't feel like showing up, and that's okay. So also giving yourself time and a few days to just be with yourself and just say, okay, today I don't feel like doing this, and that's fine too. Like, you don't need to show up every single day. However, consistency over time, right? Every other day, however you are able to show up, that can change your life. And sometimes we say, well, I'm so busy and I'm going to go home and I have to cook dinner and I have to do, like, right, like the excuses start showing up and they pile up. And one thing I've learned from people is that everyone has something that they're doing outside of, whether it's work, school, or they're doing work, school, and something else, or they have children, and right. So for them, maybe what consistency looks like, it's once a week, once a month. That's still consistency, as in they are working towards something, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is that it won't be the same for everyone, but as long as we put in that work, overall, it's going to help us a lot. So I hope these helped. I mean, these are just some lessons that I wanted to really go over and share my wisdom and my insight, and then I would love to hear what you have to say about any of these. And yeah, I'll have another video coming up with a few more reasons and lessons that I've learned, and then after that we're going to dive deeper into other topics as well. So thank you for joining, and thank you for spending some time with me today. Bye.